Imagine a world where the sky is a stormy canvas, lightning crackling across fjords, and dense pine forests echo with the songs of unseen creatures. In this ancient Scandinavian landscape, one figure looms above all others: Odin, the All-Father, a god of wisdom, war, poetry, and magic. But who was Odin really, beyond the cloak of TV dramatizations and popular imagination? To understand him, we must step into the misty corridors of history, myths, and the minds of the Norse people themselves. Odin was not just a single archetype, but a complex figure whose traits and stories evolved over centuries. To the Vikings, he was the ultimate seeker of knowledge. Legend tells us that Odin sacrificed one of his own eyes at Mimir's well to gain cosmic wisdom, a powerful act that revealed the depth of his relentless pursuit of understanding. He was also associated with the runes, the ancient Norse writing system, believed to carry magical power. This made him not only a god of battle and death, but also of intellect, language, and secrets of the universe. In the Norse cosmology, Odin was part of the Aesir, the principal pantheon of gods who ruled over Asgard. He was described as tall and imposing, with a long beard and piercing gaze, often riding his eight-legged horse, Sleipnir, traversing worlds that mortals could barely comprehend. Unlike the gods of some other mythologies, Odin was not merely a distant, untouchable figure. He was deeply involved in human affairs, sometimes favoring warriors, sometimes testing kings and heroes through cunning and deception. But Odin's character was far from one-dimensional. He was a god of both life and death, a paradoxical figure whose blessings could bring glory or destruction. During battles, he determined who would survive and who would join him in Valhalla, the hall of slain warriors, preparing for the final battle of Ragnarok. Yet, he was also a god of inspiration. Poets and skalds revered him, believing that his favor would grant them the gift of speech, wisdom, and creativity. His presence bridged the mortal and divine, the living and the dead, the known and the mysterious. Historically, evidence of Odin comes from various sources, including the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda, collections of Old Norse poems and tales compiled in the 13th century. But references to him are even older, appearing in archaeological findings, rune stones, and the writings of early historians like Tacitus. These records suggest that Odin was not merely a myth, but a central figure in the spiritual and cultural life of ancient Germanic tribes. His worship involved rituals, sacrifices, and ceremonies designed to gain favor, insight, and protection in a harsh and unpredictable world. Despite the myths, Odin was also a reflection of Viking society itself. His dual nature, wise yet warlike, mysterious yet intimately connected to humans, mirrored the challenges faced by the Norse people. Harsh climates, endless battles, and a constant search for meaning in a world governed by fate. To the Vikings, he was not just a god to admire, but a guide, a teacher, and a figure to emulate, embodying both courage and cunning. Over time, Odin's image became more than just religious. He became a symbol of the ideals that defined the Norse: bravery in the face of death, the pursuit of knowledge at any cost, and the unyielding power of destiny. These qualities are what modern interpretations often exaggerate or distort, but the historical Odin remains a figure of subtle complexity, a deity whose depth and contradictions made him one of the most fascinating gods in human mythology. The real Odin was not always the warlike, dramatic figure TV shows portray. He was a god of paradoxes, the seeker of knowledge who also thrived in the chaos of war, a distant divine figure who walked among humans, a bringer of death who inspired life through poetry and magic. Understanding him requires peeling back the layers of legend and separating the theatrical embellishments from the timeless myths that define the civilization. As we dive deeper into sagas and ancient texts, the image of Odin begins to crystallize, a god who is as enigmatic as he is powerful, as feared as he is revered, and as complex as the world he watches over. To truly grasp Odin's essence, we must journey further into the stories that have survived centuries, stories that reveal the man behind the god behind the myth, and the myth behind the memory of an entire people. To understand Odin fully, we must step beyond imagination and television dramatizations into the world of ancient texts and artifacts. The stories that survive today are our windows into how the Norse viewed this enigmatic god, a mixture of reverence, fear, and awe. These sources reveal not only his characteristics, but also the values, beliefs, and fears of the people who worshipped him. One of the most important sources about Odin is the poetic Edda, a collection of Old Norse poems compiled in the 13th century, but based on much older oral traditions. These poems depict Odin as a complex deity, a seeker of wisdom, a master of magic, and a god who interacts directly with humans. In the poem Havamal, often translated as the words of the High One, Odin shares advice, reflections on morality, and the rules of conduct for both gods and men. It's a rare instance where a god speaks directly about the human condition, blending practical guidance with philosophical insight. Here, Odin is not merely a war god, but a figure of intellect and cunning, emphasizing the importance of knowledge, patience, and foresight. The Prose Edda, written by Snorri Sturluson, a 13th century Icelandic historian, offers another critical perspective. This text serves as both a mythological handbook and a guide for poets, explaining the stories of gods, giants, and the creation of the cosmos. Snorri portrays Odin as the All-Father, a wise and calculating deity who plays a central role in the cosmic order. Through these narratives, we see his connection to magic, particularly seer, a type of Norse sorcery associated with prophecy and manipulation of fate. These texts describe his travels across worlds, his shape-shifting abilities, and his relentless pursuit of knowledge, even at great personal cost. Archaeological evidence also sheds light on Odin's importance in the Norse world. Rune stones, burial sites, and amulets depict symbols associated with him. For example, depictions of a one-eyed figure or a horse with multiple legs, Sleipnir, correspond to the myths preserved in written texts. These artifacts suggest that Odin's worship was widespread and integrated into daily life, from warriors seeking favor in battle to common people hoping for guidance and protection. In some burial sites, animals, weapons, and personal items were placed with the deceased, hinting at beliefs in Odin's role in the afterlife and his guidance to Valhalla. Beyond Scandinavia, historical accounts by Roman and Germanic historians reference the worship of Odin or deities with strikingly similar characteristics. Tacitus, a Roman historian writing the 1st century CE, described Germanic tribes that revered a warlike, all-seeing god associated with the sky, a figure many scholars link to Odin. This indicates that Odin's worship was not isolated, but part of a broader Germanic cultural and religious landscape, where gods embody both physical and spiritual authority. Odin's myths are filled with paradoxes that reveal the values of his followers. He embodies both wisdom and cunning, generosity and ruthlessness, life and death. He is a guide and a trickster, a protector and a punisher. Stories tell of him wandering the human world in disguise, testing heroes and kings, rewarding the clever and punishing the foolish. Such narratives serve not just as entertainment, but as moral and social instruction, reflecting the harsh realities of life in the Viking Age. Survival depended on intelligence, courage, and the ability to adapt. Interestingly, Odin's connection to poetry and language shows that he was more than a war god. He was a patron of knowledge and communication. Skalds, or Norse poets, would invoke his favor to gain inspiration, ensuring their words would endure. This duality, god of war and god of wisdom, illustrates how deeply intertwined the Norse conception of the divine was with the practical and intellectual life of their society. Through these texts and artifacts, we see a god who was never static. Odin's image evolved over centuries, shaped by oral traditions, regional beliefs, and historical events. Yet, despite these variations, certain qualities remain consistent. He was a seeker of knowledge, a guide through the chaos of existence, and a bridge between the mortal and divine realms. These sources form the foundation of our understanding of Odin and allow us to distinguish the historical god from the dramatized versions seen in movies and TV shows. As we piece together these ancient narratives, the figure of Odin emerges not as a one-dimensional hero or villain, but as a multifaceted deity whose myths resonate with timeless questions. How should power be used? What is the price of wisdom? How do humans confront mortality and fate? The texts and artifacts left behind are not just records of belief. They are mirrors reflecting the hopes, fears, and values of a civilization that thrive in a world both brutal and beautiful. Step into the modern world, where Odin no longer rides across misty fjords or whispers wisdom to wandering mortals. He now graces the glowing screens of millions, a character dramatized for suspense, action, and spectacle. TV shows, movies, and streaming series have reimagined him in ways that often emphasize charisma, power, and theatricality, but rarely the subtle complexity found in ancient texts. In popular media, Odin is often portrayed as a commanding, larger-than-life figure, a wise ruler with a gravitas that demands attention. His one-eyed visage, long flowing beard, and regal attire are visual shorthand for authority and mystery. Sleipnir, his eight-legged horse, is shown as a fantastical creature racing across epic landscapes, reinforcing his otherworldly power. Yet, these portrayals, while visually striking, tend to simplify or exaggerate aspects of his mythology. The god of cunning, poetry, and magic is often reduced to a warlike patriarch or a stern king figure, leaving out the depth of his morally ambiguous nature. Shows like Vikings or cinematic adaptations inspired by Norse myths often take creative liberties, blending historical elements with fantasy. Odin is cast in a narrative framework designed for storytelling tension, hero development, or visual spectacle. Writers highlight his strategic brilliance and his role as a father figure to other gods, but the nuances of his philosophical wisdom, mystical pursuits, and complex relationships with humans can be overshadowed by the demands of plot and audience expectations. One common trope in these adaptations is Odin as a manipulative strategist, orchestrating events behind the scenes to achieve certain ends. This aligns partially with the sagas, where Odin tests mortals and gods alike, but TV tends to simplify these acts into clear good versus evil narratives. Similarly, his role in granting inspiration or poetic skill is often minimized, because introspective qualities are harder to dramatize in a 40 to 60-minute episode or a blockbuster film. Moreover, television frequently amplifies the visual and dramatic elements associated with Odin. Dark, stormy skies, flickering firelight in grand halls, and intense facial expressions conveying wisdom, anger, or sorrow. While these choices create gripping imagery, they sometimes detach the god from the cultural and spiritual significance he held in Viking society. The mystical aspect of his character, his connection to fate, the runes, and the subtle, often morally gray lessons for humanity, can be overshadowed by cinematic spectacle. Costume, setting, and dialogue further shape the modern perception of Odin. Elaborate armor, glowing magical effects, and epic landscapes reinforce the image of God designed to awe viewers rather than educate them. The careful balance of wisdom and war, cunning and compassion, which defined him in Norse texts, is often compressed into shorthand symbols that audiences quickly recognize. This is why Odin on screen can feel familiar, yet fundamentally different from the Odin of historical myth. Yet, despite these differences, modern portrayals also introduce millions to the world of Norse mythology, sparking curiosity and inspiring viewers to explore the original texts. The dramatic, larger-than-life depictions serve as entry points, capturing imagination with the same sense of awe and mystery that the ancient stories once evoked. While accuracy may be sacrificed to narrative impact, the fascination with Odin's character persists, highlighting his timeless appeal. The contrast between myth and media underscores a crucial point. Storytelling evolves to fit the medium. Television demands drama, conflict, and spectacle, while ancient sagas focus on wisdom, moral lessons, and reflection. Modern adaptations often lean toward the visual and emotional, presenting Odin as a force to be reckoned with, a king of gods whose very presence dominates the story. In doing so, they inevitably emphasize certain traits: power, strategy, mystery, while downplaying others, like the subtlety of his guidance, his poetic inspiration, and his morally complex nature. In essence, TV and film reimagine Odin to suit contemporary tastes, transforming him into a compelling character for entertainment, while retaining fragments of his mythological essence. He is still the god of wisdom and war, still the seeker of knowledge, but filtered through the lens of storytelling spectacle and audience expectations. This tension between historical truth and creative interpretation forms the heart of modern Odin's appeal. Viewers are drawn not just to God himself, but to the stories crafted around him, stories that balance myth imagination and visual grandeur. By comparing these portrayals to ancient texts, we can see the line between fact and fiction blur, and yet in this blend a new type of myth is born, one that resonates with contemporary audiences, while still echoing the timeless questions that define Odin. What is the price of knowledge? How should power be wielded? And what does it truly mean to shape the fate of gods and men? As we compare ancient sources with modern adaptations, the differences between the historical Odin and his TV counterpart become striking. Television and film thrive on spectacle, drama, and visual impact, which often leads to the simplification or exaggeration of his character. Understanding these differences not only clarifies who Odin really was, but also highlights how myths are reshaped to fit contemporary storytelling. On screen, Odin is often portrayed as an all-powerful ruler whose decisions shape entire worlds with certainty. In reality, the sagas depict him as cunning, wise, and sometimes fallible. He is a god who must make sacrifices, such as giving up an eye at Mimir's well to gain knowledge. His power is not absolute. It is earned through wisdom, cunning, and sometimes morally ambiguous actions. This nuance is crucial, yet frequently lost in TV adaptations, which favor clear-cut authority figures over complex, morally gray characters. TV shows often emphasize Odin's association with war, valor, and heroism. While he is indeed connected to battles and the afterlife of warriors, this is only part of the story. The historical Odin was equally a god of poetry, magic, and wisdom. He inspired poets, taught runes, and guided mortals through subtle manipulation and foresight. By focusing primarily on war, modern media reduces his multifaceted nature to a single, action-driven trait. In myth, Odin is neither purely good nor evil. He tests, tricks, and sometimes punishes humans and gods alike, reflecting the Norse belief that life and fate are complex. TV shows often simplify these moral ambiguities, portraying Odin as a benevolent ruler or heroic figure. The deeper lessons about intelligence, cunning, and the price of wisdom are often downplayed in favor of spectacle, conflict, and easily digestible narratives. Odin's connection to magic, the runes, and the unseen forces of the cosmos is subtle and pervasive in historical texts. Modern media, however, externalizes these traits with flashy visuals, glowing runes, magical effects, or dramatic shape-shifting scenes. While visually engaging, these depictions rarely capture the philosophical or spiritual depth embedded in Odin's mystical knowledge. The essence of his wisdom is understated in ancient texts, but amplified into spectacle for TV. Ancient myths emphasize Odin's interaction with humans. He wanders the mortal world in disguise, tests heroes, and rewards cleverness. Modern portrayals sometimes remove this intimacy, presenting him as a distant, untouchable deity whose presence dominates entire narratives. This shift makes him visually impressive, but reduces his role as a god who engages directly with human struggles, a defining feature of his mythological character. Finally, The historical Odin is deeply rooted in the culture, beliefs, and daily life of the Norse people. Understanding his actions, sacrifices, and teachings requires knowledge of the Viking worldview, the importance of fate, honor, cunning, and the balance between life and death. Media adaptations often strip this cultural context, reshaping Odin into a universal archetype for audiences worldwide. While this broadens his appeal, it can erase the subtleties that make his myth historically and spiritually significant. Despite these differences, it's important to note that modern portrayals are not necessarily wrong. They serve a different purpose: to entertain, captivate, and provide accessible storytelling for contemporary audiences. Yet, by comparing fiction with historical sources, we gain a deeper appreciation for the real Odin, a god of paradoxes, wisdom, and depth who continues to inspire curiosity centuries after the sagas were first told. The tension between myth and media reminds us that every adaptation is a reinterpretation. Stories evolve as they are told and retold, shaped by the needs of the storyteller and the expectations of the audience. In this process, some truths are exaggerated, some are simplified, and some are lost. But the fascination with Odin persists, proving that the All-Father story is far from finished. Even thousands of years after the Norse sagas were first told, Odin continues to enthrall us. From ancient runestones to blockbuster television, his story resonates across time and culture. But why does this enigmatic god remain so compelling? And why does he inspire fascination in both scholars and casual audiences alike? Part of Odin's enduring appeal lies in his universal themes. He embodies the pursuit of knowledge, the complexities of morality, and inevitable confrontation with fate. These are questions that remain as relevant today as they were in the Viking Age. What is the price of wisdom? How should one navigate the challenges of power and responsibility? How do we confront the inevitability of death? Odin's myth answers these questions in ways that are both dramatic and contemplative, offering timeless lessons that appeal to human curiosity and intellect. Odin also captivates because of his paradoxical nature. He is at once a god of war and poetry, cunning and wisdom, life and death. This duality makes him relatable yet mysterious, a figure who embodies both the light and shadow within human experience. He represents the tension between action and reflection, aggression and intellect, chaos and order. These contrasts make him endlessly intriguing, offering storytellers rich material to explore and reinterpret. Modern media and literature have amplified this fascination. While adaptations often dramatize his power and mystique, they also introduce millions to the myths, sparking curiosity about Norse culture, history, and philosophy. Odin becomes not just a character on screen, but a gateway to understanding the Viking worldview, a culture that revered bravery, cunning, and knowledge, and that grappled with life's uncertainties in a harsh, unpredictable world. Odin's symbolic significance also transcends history. He is a figure of inspiration, embodying human desires for knowledge, mastery, and connection to something greater than ourselves. For scholars, he offers insight into Norse spirituality and social values. For creators, he provides a canvas to explore heroism, strategy, and the consequences of choice. For audiences, he remains a captivating figure because he represents both the extraordinary and the familiar, the divine qualities we admire and the moral questions we face in our own lives. Furthermore, Odin's story continues to evolve, demonstrating the power of myth to adapt. Just as ancient poets shaped his legend to reflect their society, modern storytellers reshape him to reflect contemporary values and aesthetics. Whether through epic television dramas, novels, or video games, Odin's presence reminds us that mythology is not static. It lives and breathes in every retelling, reflecting the hopes, fears, and imagination of each generation. Ultimately, the fascination with Odin comes from his ability to bridge worlds, the mortal and divine, the past and present, reality and imagination. He embodies timeless truths, complex contradictions, and enduring questions about life, power, and destiny. Even in a world dominated by screens and digital storytelling, Odin's myths remind us of the enduring power of narrative and the human desire to understand forces larger than ourselves. In a sense, Odin remains as he was in the Viking Age, a teacher, a guide, and a mirror to humanity. His story captivates because it challenges us, inspires us, and invites us to look beyond the obvious. It encourages exploration of wisdom, reflection on mortality, and an appreciation of life's complexities. Whether in the pages of ancient texts or the glow of a television screen, Odin continues to hold our imagination, proving that some myths never truly die. They evolve, endure, and captivate generation after generation.